Hi everyone, my name is Donkey and today we're back on the RTS project. First of all, I have to apologise a little bit because what we did in the last video probably wasn't the most efficient way of doing it, and it also probably wasn't the thing. It wasn't the thing I was aiming to do, and that was mainly because I wasn't feeling great. So, yeah, I apologise for that. We'll come back to this and make this better at some point, but we're not going to do that now because that wasn't what I was aiming to do anyway. What we are going to do, though, is create a new script this time, and this time we'll try and do it properly. So we're going to call this script charges DB, and this is going to be another database, quite similar to this one, as a matter of fact. But yeah, we're going to make it a little bit different. So, oops, to open it, like we started doing with you though, we're going to pass in our width and height. Are we? I'm not sure. I have to think about that one. We'll leave it there for the moment. But yeah, we might change this a little bit. Is charges already a thing? No, okay. Make it global as well. So global.charges equals ds. We probably shouldn't. We'll call it charges db because charges might overlap with something. Sorry, ds grid create, and we can pass in argument 0 and argument 1. I might change this, as I say, I'm not sure quite yet. This is the same as what we did at the start of last video before it all started to go kind of wrong. But this is the bit where it starts to get kind of important. Yeah, you know what? I've changed my mind. We're not gonna use this here. In fact, we're gonna get rid of that script entirely. We'll copy that though. So copy that first line, and then we can just delete it. Yeah, I've decided there's not much point. We can just put it in the controller here. So right where we create our other grid, we may as well create our charges grid. So right underneath, and it's going to pass in the same thing, width and height. And we want to clear it, just like that. Oops, not twice. But instead with charges db, we want to clear. We want to set every charge equal to 0. So what this is going to do is, as default, every block has no charge, which kind of makes sense when you think about it. So now here, what we're going to do is, if we've got grass tile, which I don't know why we've named it grass, it's actually wood, we're going to set the charges equal to, I mean, we could use the database script, but as I'm planning on getting rid of that, I think it's probably best not to. In this case, we'll just set it straight to 3. And then here we could do the same, but we're just going to change it to 1. Okay. So now every tile, every grass tile, or wood as it actually is going to have a slot in the charges database, and it's going to be set to 3 as default. And with the stone in the charges database, it's going to be set to 1. Okay, that's relatively simple. We don't want this. We want the units, not the unit, the controller maybe. Maybe not. Where do we... here, in the step event. Where we actually start mining our tiles. Here. So the charges, and we need to change the this bit of our charges. Just took me a little bit of time to read through it because it isn't the most readable, so we might need to work on that at some point. But basically what we're saying is that our charges, each charge that we have in this variable charges allows us to mine one other lot of that material. So if the tile has reached the total maximum amount of charges, which is the total count, then we reset and it goes back to being land. Now that's what we want to do, but we want to do it on a per tile basis. And the way we do this is that we say var charges is equal to, and here we just swap this to charges db, and instead of IDD we need to change this to be gx and gy, which are our grid coordinates. So effectively we're setting the charges equal to the number that we've set earlier on. Can't remember what we set it, controller, in a create event. So the number that we've set here, which is 3 for grass and 1 for stone, is then going to get called here using the grid x and grid y coordinates, and then set as that number of charges. Now you may be thinking, you know, this probably doesn't change much for the most part. You can see there we've mined 1 stone, we go here 1, 2, 3 wood. Now that's not groundbreaking, right? But what if we come here, we mine 1, we come here, we mine 1, 1, 1. Okay. Oh yeah, we've forgotten something quite important. The problem with the charges at the moment is that it doesn't go down. That's the biggest thing. So we need to actually rework some of our code here. How do we? No, we don't have to rework much, but it'll just take a little bit of thinking to get this to work properly. So the way I'm thinking that we could run this to keep the code all the same is this all runs consistently. So if you are on the same tile, it runs and it runs and it runs until the charges tick down. So that's why it currently works if you're just stood on one tile. So it'll tick down one charge, 2 charge, 3 charge, and done. And that'll be done there. So the quickest change we can make here is that we can say global charges db gx gy equals 0. So it's gone back to being land. It's now not got any charges. We could do that the same down here. Okay, sorted. This one's a little bit easier because we don't have to worry about the charges on that one. However, here, this is where it continues, and that's fine. But what if we break from the loop? So what if we no longer are on this bit? So I'm not sure. Let's try it here. So what we actually want to do here before we reset the total count is we're going to take the charges, and this is exactly the same, gx gy, and we're going to minus the amount that was in our total count. And you may be thinking, why are we doing that exactly? Well, because the total count is the number of charges that we've reached in however many cycles. So say we've reached 2 and then we move. What this is going to do is it's going to minus that off the charges, so that whenever we move back onto that tile, we set the charges equal to whatever's stored in that grid position. It's always going to be 2 less than what we started, so now we can only mine 1. And that should work. Maybe we need it in here as well, or maybe we need to swap it. I'm a little bit unsure because there's lots of else statements going on. So 3 still works, and stone still works. What if we come here, mine 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's not worked like that. So let's try and move this here as well. Let's see if that works. We won't bother rechecking again. Okay, maybe not. GY and GX don't exist down there. let's just copy this then, I guess. Not the most efficient way of doing it, but yeah, we can work around it. So anyway, if we, yeah, it's a little bit annoying actually. Let's take these and let's just delete it and put it right at the top there. So now it can be accessed in the whole thing. And we can get rid of all this. Okay, now if we run it, hopefully it'll let us move now. 1, 2, 3. So let's do 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's actually going infinite now, an infinite number. So that's completely messed the whole thing up there by the looks of things. So things aren't going to plan. I think that's pretty apparent at the moment. So how are we gonna fix that? The way I would normally do this is I would say, where are we? Here we're in crew. Here this is going to run several times. We know it's going to run several times because the total count is going to go up. So let's actually show debug message, and let's take the charges here. So let's show to ourselves what that is actually going to be. Okay, so 3. I think it's always 3. It's a bit hard to tell because we've got some sort of other thing going on, which I believe might be our basic unit. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. Let's put something in the front of it just to indicate that this is the charges. So a little C. Hopefully this should. Let's try now. So 3 charges. Still 3 charges. That's -3 charges. -9 charges. Okay, so that's where the infinite bit comes in, because it's way negative. So let's try and get rid of this one. It might be running twice, which could be the problem. So yeah, let's try and get rid of that. So 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, infinite. Okay, so this seems to have caused more problems than it's probably gained. So we might want to look at reworking the system. That's the next thing to look at. So it's not something I'd like to do particularly. You know what? Let's copy this debug message, and instead of having it there, let's put it here. So this is when our thing actually changes. So this should only run when we move tiles, I think. Ah, wait. Yeah, see the problem we've got here is that this is an if statement saying that if we are at the coordinates. So obviously there's going to be quite a few points where we're not at the coordinates, and we only really want to run this once. So you know what? Let's get rid of this. Let's take this, and let's get rid of this. Wherever we add to the total count, let's then just minus 1 from the charges, right? So we've took 1 from our thing, and we've added 1 there. The problem would be is that because we reset the charges, so this might cause us only to get like one charge or something. 1, 2, or an infinite. So how could we work around this? Let's think. We could have some sort of thing that builds charges from the start. How else do we know when we actually move? We know here when we move. But that's running constantly. So I might just have to leave this one because this episode is getting quite long. It's a tricky one, to be honest. But yeah, I'll come back when I have a proper solution to that one. I think the bulk of it is there, it just needs a little bit of implementation. So anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If you like this video, remember to like, subscribe, or what do you guys want to do, and I will talk to you in the next one.